Hey everyone, I'm Marina from Pineapple Yarn, and I'm back this week to share what I have been working on. So I'm sorry I missed you last week. I completely lost my voice from allergies. I do this every year. I have about a week where I have allergies when we have such bad pollen on, it's a thick layer of pollen on everything in the spring. And I don't think I usually lose my voice, but this year there was just no getting around it. I lost my voice and it was so hoarse and so scratchy that I just thought it would be best if I spared you the sound because I couldn't even stand it myself. So I thought, I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to skip this week and I'll just have lots of things to share with you this week. So I was, I think, 2 weeks ago when I last caught up with you, I had just started casting on the Homebody Sweater, and I chose this pattern to use all of my beautiful combo plied handspun yarn. I used all Woolfiend fiber, and it was 5 different colorways. As always, I'll put all the information down below, but I loved this pattern. I can't even tell you. Yes, I'm using it in past tense because I finished the sweater and I can't even believe I finished it this quickly, to be honest. I was not in a rush. I was not pushing to get it done, but I finished. I really cannot even believe it. Look how fun this is. This is just, I love it so much. So I will back up and give you more details from the beginning. I spun this from a whole bunch of different colorways of Woolfiend fiber. It was mostly Targhee, but I also had Corriedale and let me think, BFL, those two as well in this. So for those of you who know Targhee, you will know that it's incredibly squishy. I mean, it has a beautiful soft feel. It is, it's nearly as soft as merino. I still think it's maybe just slightly a higher micron count. I'm not positive, but just that's the way it feels on my neck. I can tell that it isn't merino, which is totally fine because it is so squishy. It has so much elasticity. And what I did is I did a combo ply. So I spun up singles on my Electric Eel Wheel and then I plied different colorways together. That's basically the best way I can describe it. And I spun them all up as 2 plies, so they were just so fun, barber poled, just lots of different combinations. So I'm going to show you a close-up so maybe you can see a little bit better what I'm talking about. But you can probably see some of the marling that's going on. You can see that this looks striped because I alternated different skeins of yarn throughout the sweater just to give it that striped effect. And basically what I did is I think I switched, for the body I switched about every 4 rounds, and then for the arms I kind of just let the yarn do its thing. And the reason I did that is because by the time I was done with the body, I actually did leave it on a cable, the body itself, because I wanted to try it on. I want to make sure that it was all coming out. I had enough yarn and everything. And so for the sleeves, I just kind of, let colors do their thing. And I'm so glad I did that because there are some really gorgeous color transitions that happen throughout the sleeves. So for example, let me show you the cuff on this one. From the dark pink here up, that is all one color. It's not one colorway, but it's one skein of yarn. I love the color transition on that, and I'm so happy that that's on the cuff because I'll see it all the time. And the other cuff is just as beautiful, but just with a totally different color. And my favorite color transition on this sleeve is, I think it's right here, this like turquoise. It started from here and then went up to this dark pink section. I really, really love how the sweater came out. I love it so much. So I knit this pattern. I knit the first size, the smallest size. I didn't want as much ease as the pattern calls for, and so I knew that this would match my gauge and would give me just a little less ease, less positive ease, and it worked out fabulously. It has very little positive ease. It's a close-fitting sweater, which is what I wanted because I want it to keep me warm. It's so comfortable because it's incredibly stretchy. There's so much elasticity with this yarn, and it's a very springy, just, I can't tell you how lovely it is to work with Targhee. It's just a really fun yarn to knit with. But how the construction of this sweater, I think you can probably see the way that my yarn's striping. You start off by knitting the short rows on the neck, so you can see the back here, how you start the increases for the raglan sleeves, and then after a while you actually cast on stitches, and it really gives a nice lower neck in the front, and just adds that short row shaping. And then you continue with the raglan increases, and set the sleeves aside. You divide for the sleeves. And the only modification I made on this sweater, I made a few. They're very small because the pattern is very simple and it's just really nice to knit with. So and you can't even see, so I'm not going to show you, but I did a series of 6 decreases in the back, like in the mid back. There was a lot of fabric in the back, and I found that with my sweaters in general, if they're a raglan or if they're just kind of in general a top-down sweater, if they're not pieced, then a yoked sweater, a raglan sweater, those actually I have a lot of fabric in the back, and so I just did 2 decreases, a pair of decreases every, I don't know, 5 or 6 rounds, just about this far apart in the back, and it took in just enough fabric where it looked, just slightly more fitted. It fit slightly better, and it was such a small difference, but for me it really turned out nice. I did do the 2x2 rib on the cuffs and the hem, and this hits right at my high hip. I will try it on in a minute. It's warm today, but so that's why I'm not wearing it. So I will try it on in a minute. But anyway, yeah, so I did a 2x2 rib, which is called for in the pattern. The neckline, I love this neckline so much. The way that the yarn turned out, I just thought it was so, so pretty. And then the sleeves, I normally follow sleeves, the decreases and everything in the pattern, but this was already quite a fitted sleeve, so I did no decreases at the beginning. And then once I got past my elbow, I followed the, there's basically 2 different sets of decreases, frequency of decreases, I guess, and I followed that second, and until I got the called for stitch count for the cuff, except I did leave 2 extra stitches, just again for a little bit of ease around the cuff. I don't know if you all have ever noticed, but I wear earrings, and that is like it for jewelry. I can't, rarely do I wear a lot of jewelry. I don't like the way it feels. So I don't like tight cuffs necessarily, though I do like longer cuffs. Anyway, so that's really it for modifications. Obviously, the fit is more fitted than the Homebody Sweater. I can't remember how much positive ease, 4 to 6 inches maybe, ballpark around there. But it's a great pattern in case you are interested in just a really simple sweater pattern. So let me go ahead and try this on so you can see the fit. So here it is, and I love the way this feels. It is a fitted sweater, but it's not tight. I don't think that there's necessarily like negative ease. It just fits. It fits so great. I really like it. So here it is. It hits my high hip, and so I think it's a really great length, especially because all of my pants are high-waisted at this point. Most of them are like mid-rise to high-waisted pants, and I think it's just really flattering. I love that fit, but this sweater is just, oh, it's so cozy, and I really do think that we are beyond here. We're beyond sweater weather. I think sweater weather's gone, and so I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for me to wear it. Sadly, yeah, I think it's going to have to wait until next season, but I like it, and I think it's just kind of eclectic and stripy, and it's definitely not for everybody, but I love it, and it's just that handspun feel. I really like it. Of course, I've already had to keep it away from my daughters. They really want it. So I did want to give you just really quickly, I wrote down some stats on my fiber tag. This is how I write down all of my spinning info. I don't know if, hopefully you can see that. But that is, I just write down, wraps per inch if I get that far. Definitely, who was the dyer, when I spun it, fiber content, just technical details like that. I try not to go overboard, because then I get burnt out from it, and then I never label anything, and then I have no idea. So I did write down, this sweater weighs 440 grams, and my finished fiber, my finished yarn was 524 grams. So I did have some left over, and I have a decent sized cake left over, and I think what I'm going to do with it, I'll probably just knit a really great winter accessory. I will wait until I wear this sweater a couple of times, just in case I want to make, I want to make it a little longer, or I want to add some length on the cuffs, something like that. It's always nice to have a little bit extra to do those things with, but all in all, I'm really happy with this, and it was a huge project, and I'm just really thrilled with it. I really love it. So I do have another handspun project that I'm going to be casting on soon, and this is a giant cake of yarn, as you can see. This is all of my Woolfiend Advent minis that I spun up. This was the Woolfiend Advent calendar from 2021, and I spun it up during the month of February. Because that's what works for me. So this was just great. This is also Targhee. It just so happened that my sweater spin, all the fiber I had was Targhee, and then I ordered Targhee on for the Advent calendar. But I caked this all up, and I love this end sticking out, because you can see it's kind of like that red-orange color. And I just loosely knotted the ends, and I hope to probably spit splice them as I knit along because this is non-superwash. But look how giant this cake of yarn is, and it's so squishy. I really love it. But let me get my tag on this. So I did write a tag for my minis, so I know, you know, just totals and each mini, how much it weighed, my yardage. So it was nice to do that as I went, because I could tell if I was being consistent, you know, if I was consistently spinning, if my, you know, just getting a little too bulky or a little too thin. And so all in all, I did okay. I mean, I don't think that Targhee is the easiest to spin by any means, because it poofs up. So let's see if I can get that. So the great thing about Targhee is that it's like, it's soft and it's very elastic and it's very squishy, but that's also what makes it so difficult to get an even spin, because I always want to keep the air in and I want to keep it squishy, and it just blooms when it hits water. It really just blooms and is gorgeous and squishy, but it's also, for me, it's difficult to get consistent. So, but it ended up, I mean, my sweater, as you can see, it really is not, it's really not wildly inconsistent. It turned out great. So with my giant cake of yarn, I, you know, did some thinking about it. I knew that I wanted to probably do a shawl with it. And so as of now, I am going to cast on the Slumber Shawl from Stephen West, and it's a really nice kind of feather and fan pattern. It's made for a chunkier weight yarn. And this ended up being, I don't even have wraps per inch on it, but I can tell you it's probably about 9 wraps per inch. That's what I would say, maybe even 8 wraps per inch. So it puts it at about a worsted to Aran weight. We're not into the bulky, arena realm, if you will. But this is definitely, I would say, a worsted to Aran weight. And I have 400 grams and about 529 yards. And I think the pattern calls for, I want to say it calls for, I know it calls for more. I can't remember how more now. It either calls for 100 yards more or calls for 100 grams more. And so I may need to spin, depending on how this knits up, I may need to spin a little more yarn and add it on, which I don't think is really, it doesn't have to be just the advent calendar. I'm fine with spinning some more yarn or looking in my stash and adding it. So I think also what I'm going to do, so the way I laid this out is I laid it out in a fade, and it kind of starts with this like beautiful kind of tomatoey red brown color and fades out into this green. And I think I'm going to start with the green and then work my way into the red, which normally I would put this closer to my face, because even though today I'm wearing very cool colors, I actually look better in warmer colors. But either way, there's a lot of yellow in this first color and there's a lot of yellow in this outside color, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, so I think the Slumber Shawl is going to be a really great pattern. It is actually a faded pattern. I think the original pattern calls for 4 skeins of either worsted or Aran weight yarn, and I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to be really great. So it's going to be a fun pattern. I don't think it's going to be, you know, too much for my kind of overwhelmed brain to handle. And so I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a really fun knit. So excited for another opportunity to knit with squishy handspun Targhee. I'm very excited. So that's the update on my advent calendar spin. I got that all caked up, and it's the funniest giant cake. I love it. So that is basically all I have been knitting on this week. I've been very monogamous, but I also spun up some more yarn. So I've been spinning a ton of yarn lately. So one thing I did is I went through the studio and mostly my personal yarn stash, actually, and which I have moved out here, my personal fiber stash, and I went through and I consolidated things, and I just found things I'd forgotten about. So for years I used to subscribe to the Paradise Fibers Club, the Hedgehog Fibers Club, for fiber, and there's just certain things that I have acquired that I don't really care for, whether it's the color, whether it's a fiber content. And so I'm going to try to be very disciplined through the next couple months. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud because I don't even know if it's really going to end up working out, but I'm going to try my best to just to spin down some of my fiber stash, and try some fibers that I just don't like to spin, or it's not what I would normally gravitate towards. We'll say that. So this first skein of yarn it's so beautiful, and I didn't really enjoy spinning it, to be honest. This is a club fiber from Hedgehog Fibers, probably from 2020, I would say. And the reason I didn't like this, it definitely was not the color, because as you can see, there's a lot of just super gorgeous colors in there. I mean, they're really, really pretty. We've got obviously a predominant light blue, but pops of pink and yellow, and I mean, it's just really pretty. But I believe this was a club from 2020, and it was a blend of 50% merino, 25% silk, and 25% flax. I don't like spinning flax in fiber. That's just me. I don't care for it. And I don't like spinning silk. So I'm probably the minority out there of people who don't like silk. I don't like to spin with silk. I don't want my yarn shiny. I don't mind if it's shiny, but if it's a trade-off between shininess and elasticity, I will take elasticity any day over shine. Again, just my preference. I'm probably not in the majority by any means. So what I did, and I spun this, I've spun a fiber like this before from Paradise Fibers. They had a fabulous, it was so beautiful. It was kind of like their pop art box from maybe 2 years ago, and it had black flax in it. So the flax had been dyed black, and then it had pops of, I think, neon pink, and I don't think I have it anymore. You know what? I might have it. Let me look. Actually, I think this is it right here. Oh gosh, this one had sparkle in it. Let me show you a close-up of this. So I'm pretty sure this was my Paradise Fibers skein that also contained flax. And because I'm horrible at writing notes, or I have been in the past, this has no notes with it at all. But what I did with this, and this was a really difficult skein to master, to be honest, a really difficult fiber. I spun this as singles, and then I'm pretty sure I fold it, but this has some sparkle in it, but it has black flax, and I can tell it has silk in it because it's shiny, and probably merino as well. And I spun this. This was the first time I had done it. It was from the fold over the tip of my finger. Basically, you're just tearing chunks off your fiber, and you fold it in half. So the middle of the fiber is being drafted into, you're holding it with with your hand, and it is just being drafted off the tip of your finger. So basically the fiber is being folded in half, and it's kind of like being drafted into a little cone, and you can choose to smooth it if you want. You can choose to leave the air in, and I'm pretty sure I tried to leave air in with this single, and it turned out okay. It didn't turn out, you know, it's not perfect, but it actually, I mean, looking at it now, it actually was pretty good. So that's what I tried to do with this skein that I just spun up. I ended up, I'm just reading my notes real quick. I spun from the fold over the tip of my finger, and I actually did it long draft. And so I had enough tension on my brake band. I did spin this on my electric eel wheel. And so when you have that fiber folded over, you just draw your finger back and it just drafts the yarn out, and then you let it in. I love spinning that way. And I had forgot about the Paradise Fibers fiber that I'd spun probably 2 years ago. I loved it so much, and it's such a great technique if you have something like silk and you don't want it to be shiny, if you want to add some air, you don't want it to be dense and worsted. It's a great technique. And it's also a great technique if you just have, you know, if you have flax or if you have silk and you do want to smooth it, you still can smooth it down. And there's different ways that you can draft from the fold, I guess. So you don't have to do it off the tip of your finger. You can actually do it from the middle of your finger and smooth it, and it adds, I don't know, that's actually a great way to spin for silk and things that you do want to smooth down. Anyway, I'm happy with this. It's not super consistent. It is 152 grams, and I got 261 yards. And I tried very much to not smooth it down. I tried to keep it fluffy, light. I did not over-ply this by any means. I thought the plying it looks fabulous. It does not have a very tight angle. I'd say it's probably, of course, this is all guessing. I would say it's maybe 30 degrees. So I'm happy with this. I don't know what this will become. The flax actually softened up quite a bit with washing. To finish this, I just soaked it and snapped it. I didn't try and full it or anything, but I thought it turned out really pretty. And so I feel good that I did this. I feel good that it's not in my stash anymore. I forgot to add that I actually purchased some of their grab bags a couple of years ago as well, some of their fiber grab bags, and I had a piece in that grab bag that was the same base as this, so it had the flax in it. So I added that in, and those are some of those pops of neon pink that you see. Was that chunk of fabric or fiber? So one fiber out of my stash, and on to the next one. So I did. I moved on to my next one. And I spun up another skein of yarn, and this also was a Hedgehog Fibers Club, and I don't have a date on it. I'm pretty sure it was from 2020, but it is a luxurious blend, and it is 40% 18.5 micron merino, so a very super fine merino, 20% alpaca, 20% camel, and 20% silk. So the hand on this is incredibly luxurious. I mean, it is so soft, so soft. I love alpaca. I love camel. I don't care for silk. So, since I just finished the flax spin, I thought, why not do the same technique with this fiber? I have quite a bit of blends that have silk in them. And now that I have tackled this with some silk, and it still has, it doesn't have a ton of elasticity, to be honest, but it is airy and light, and so I'll take it, you know, if that's it. Even with the merino, it just doesn't have a lot of elasticity. So that's probably how I'll be spinning all of my silk that I have in my stash. But I'll give you a close-up. It, again, I spun this from the fold off the tip of my finger, long draw. I did not smooth this down at all. I tried to leave it airy and lightweight. And as you can see, there's pops of color. So this is a, I don't know if it's a naturally dark fiber or if that's the way it was dyed and then it was over dyed with all these splashes of color. Hedgehog Fiber Clubs are just, their fiber club is just fabulous. So I definitely recommend it if you are in the market for a fiber club, because it's fun. It's really fun seeing what they have every month, and they're fun. They vary between dark colorways and, you know, splashy neon colorways, and sometimes they have sparkle. Every once in a while they'll have a sparkle, and so it's fun. But this was 136 grams and about 284 yards. So this is a bit finer than my flax. It's quite a bit finer. I'd say it's a DK weight, just looking at it. And so this will be very versatile. I mean, this would be a gorgeous cowl. This would be an absolutely beautiful cowl. It is so soft, and with the alpaca, it would just be so, so warm. So this would definitely be a beautiful next to skin accessory. Absolutely gorgeous. So those two are done. I'm so happy to have two beautiful fibers out of my stash and into skein form. And now I need to spin with my, or I need to knit with my hand spun. I really need to do that, because I'm this little square is all of my hand spun, and it's just asking to be knit with. So maybe once I really start being intentional with, you know, spinning all of my hand spun that's in my stash, or spinning with the fiber that's in my stash, I will next work on, you know, actually knitting with it. So but that is what I have been working on this week. So I will start the Slumber Shawl probably this next week, and probably keep spinning because I've been really into spinning. And when we get into summer here in South Carolina, it is just, it's so humid that spinning it gets difficult on your fingers. So I like to get as much spinning in as I can before it just gets a little sticky. But I wanted to let you know that today's April 1st, and so I did post my advent calendar pre-orders in the shop. I'll pop the mood board in right here in case you're interested. Those will be up until September or whenever they sell out. So you have your choice of a fingering weight yarn or a DK weight. So they are really fabulous. I'm just so excited about the theme this year. I have been sitting on this for quite a while. I know exactly what theme I wanted to do. Even last year, I was already planning it, and I've just been so excited planning it for you. So if you're in the market for an advent calendar, definitely go check it out. There's tons more information on the listing page. And I also have my new club pre-orders in the shop right now. They are for May. Believe it or not, I can't even believe it. So those are going on through the month of April, and they will ship out by, around May 10th. Depends on where the 10th falls during the week. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like this episode, I'd love if you'd give it a thumbs up. I will see you next week. And until then, I hope you have an awesome day. Bye.